Hey everybody, the Super Vader 400 here, back for another retro review, and this time I'm reviewing the 1989 Punisher, which in my opinion is one of the most awesomest, underrated action comic book movies around. This movie is way better than I remember it being. Dolph Lundgren is an awesome Punisher. I like all three Punishers, but Dolph Lundgren is an awesome Punisher, and his acting ability here has improved from the previous adaptation in '87, Masters of the Universe. Um, let's get to the plot and story. The plot is, in this version of the Punisher, um, Frank Castle, portrayed by Dolph Lundgren, is hunting down several mobsters and has killed 125 people, and is a wanted criminal. And is a wanted criminal. Lady Tanaka, leader of the Yakuza, takes over Gino Franco's mob. I think that's his name. Gino Franco's mob, and and of course the Yakuza and the mobsters, they kidnap several kids. They kidnap several kids. One of them being Gino Franco's son. The Punisher, of course, continues his war on crime, and is pretty much has no friends except for a drunk guy named Snake. Jake Berkowitz, who I think is an officer investigating the case. Investigating the case, works alone, but a female detective, I think, and reporter named Sam convinced him to get back on the case of the Trail of the Punisher, when Sam tells Jake that he knows the Punisher is Frank Castle. Frank Castle, who is then revealed here that Frank Castle was a former police officer, and his family was killed in a mob hit. Since then, he's been punishing the cruel and evil. Later on in the film, the Punisher and Snake are captured and are forced to be tortured, but the Punisher escapes. The Punisher escapes and is later caught by the police. And in one of the more emotional scenes, you have Jake Berkowitz telling Frank Castle that that he can't save him from the judicial system, because he's killed 125 people and that they're gonna kill him by electrocution. Frank Jake tries to talk more sense into Frank, but Frank doesn't want to hear it. And Jake tells him to just die, because the Frank Castle he knew died a long time ago. Of course, the Frank Castle later escapes the prison. And Gino Franco actually, he doesn't escape the prison. He's later taken into custody by the mobsters, and Gino Franco tells him that he needs his help to get his son back. Frank Castle tells him to shove it, and Gino Franco brings in Jake as a way to convince Frank Castle to help him get his son back. Frank Castle agrees to do it only for him, but when it's over, he's coming after him. He's next. Frank Castle, in another favorite scene of mine, fights his way through several Yakuza and mobsters with gunfights and martial arts, kick-ass martial arts action. And finally, when Franco and Lady Tanaka come face to face, Franco is forced to surrender, or his son dies. Frank Castle comes in, kills Lady Tanaka. Then Franco betrays him, saying that now, since he just killed Lady Tanaka, he wiped out the competition, and that he's gonna kill Frank Castle, and his son will grow up to inherit it. The business. And right here, um, Frank Castle kills Franco by winning the gun duel. And in another emotional scene, actually this whole scene was emotional. Frank Castle tells his son, kills his father, but tells his son not to grow up and be like him, or he will be waiting. And the Punisher disappears into the night before before um Jake could find him. And Jake, it ends with Jake screaming, Frank! 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 And then of course we get another cool monologue at the end of how from the Punisher. The movie ends there. Like I said, this was an awesome movie. Awesome gunfights. Dolph Lundgren is the Punisher, despite lacking his iconic skull, and like I said, awesome gunfights and some kick-ass hand-to-hand martial arts actions. It's good to see Dolph Lundgren's martial arts skills used fully to the test in this film. In other films, Rocky IV, he had to learn boxing. In Masters of the Universe '87, it was mostly sword punching and wrestling, sword action and wrestling. And Universal Soldier, he got to use a little bit, but it was still mostly brawling. So it was cool to see him actually doing some martial arts here, and lots of awesome gunfights and lots of graphic, gory violence. This film is legit. Most films are watered down to be PG-13. Films like this and Blaze say screw it, rated R. All the blood and gore you can see, man. And like I said, this film wasn't liked when it was released, but it has a huge cult following today. But this film right here is awesome, and it's, in my opinion, one of the best and most underrated comic book films of all time. Well, this was my review, and one of my all-time favorite films from Dolph Lundgren. Alright, well, this was my review of The Punisher 1989. Alright, the Super Vader out.